some of the, I don't know, most important leaders in the mortgage industry here. A special guest to learn. Today, we have our special guest, Mr. Bill Hart, Mr. Coach Bill Hart. What's up? What's up, Bill?
I'm hanging out here with you because that's one of my most favorite activities. If I get to hang with Dave and Todd and, I don't know, hundreds of our best friends out there, it's a really good day, Dave.
It is a really good day. And I think this is the first time we've done some co-leading together since we were, you did the keynote and I did the follow-up act at Jim. So,
that's right.
And you know, that video that we did right afterwards, which was super impromptu.
Oh my goodness.
We made it up and that thing like went viral in mortgage coach land. You know, that was a fun thing to do.
Well, as you know, I have had more great comments as a result of that. I've got a sales rally booked in February to talk about this as a result of that. And the biggest thing I have to thank you for is I was talking about the 6 disciplines and you said, come on. Number 7 is all in. And I'm like, oh, there's some beautiful symmetry there. Of course. So thanks for that. Yeah.
No, it was good. And I've used that at a couple sales rallies where I've spoken because you did such a great job of just like, what are 7 things that all top producers have in common? So anyways, I enjoyed that. I'm planning to hand it off to my wingman, co-host, Todd Bookspan, to lead today's call. Before I do that, I want to remind everybody listening in, this is a mastermind. You know, while we are the leaders that you can't mute us, like we can only mute ourselves. You guys are muted, but we don't want you to be muted. If you have questions, if you have comments, post them down below. If you're watching this live in Zoom, put it in chat. If you're watching this in Facebook, put it down below. And heck, if you're watching the recording, you know, I'm constantly amazed at how many people are watching this in Facebook as a recording. And remember, guys, we post everything into the YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, highly recommend you subscribe because you'll get an alert. Every time we put a new video in there, you'll get a little alert. You'll know what's in there. And my goal is really simple with the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. I want it to be Netflix for mortgage professionals. You know, really the only difference between the two is you make money when you watch Mortgage Coach videos. You improve as a professional, you improve your confidence, and you improve what you do. So this will be there, and please ask us some questions and share some comments. So with that said, I'm going to bring in the one and only, the founder of Win by Noon, co-host of our Friday Mastermind, Todd Bookspan. What's up?
Hey, not a whole lot. I love nothing more than watching you and Bill banter back and forth, 2 of my dearest friends. So super excited for today. And, you know, just so all you know what the background is when Dave approached me to do the Win by Noon call that I did on Tuesday, he and I kind of brainstormed back and forth that, hey, wouldn't it be fun to bring in Bill, really talk about his idea of intention to execution and his 7 disciplines of top producers and sort of how that all ties in with Win by Noon and how you guys can all be better. So I appreciate the encouragement, Dave, for making this match of the 3 of us here today.
Love it. Well, you guys take it away. I'm gonna put myself on mute and I'm gonna go off camera. And if I think I can add some color or if there's some questions from the community, I'll put myself back on calendar and I'll put myself back on camera and I'll be back.
Well, I expect to see you back. I have no doubt that you will be. And so, I'm super stoked. Hey, Bill, you want to kind of tell everyone, so when you guys saw the graphic that we posted around to announce this webinar, this going from intention to execution, you mind kind of sharing with everyone what that is, or is it premature?
Nope, perfect timing. But I do just have to call out Dave's Schwarzenegger there at the end. I hope you guys all heard that when he said, I'll be back. It was pretty good, Dave. I like that. Dave, it's also good leadership. What I love watching you do right now is very confidently handing this off to Todd, which probably wouldn't have happened a year or so ago. And it's just pretty cool to watch you step back and to watch Todd take it. So it's cool to watch.
Thank you, Bill. And I don't know where that Arnold Schwarzenegger thing came. It just happened.
It was there. Yeah,
it was just there.
I get it. So Todd, here's my here's my subtext goal with this is I have been saying for a while now that my, is Dave frozen on your screen? With a big smile? Oh, he just went away and now you're back. Never mind. Might have just been at my end. Anyway, I've been telling people that my second book is going to be called Closing the Gaps, Moving from Intention to Execution. And barring a publisher telling me that that's a terrible title and they want to do something else, that's I will call that the working title. And what this forces me to do today is to organize my thoughts in such a way that I can create a rough outline for the book. So here's what I figured out. White Collar Warrior was based on my, which I see on your bookshelves there right over your shoulder. Thank you very much for having it. Yeah, I know it's not just there today. I noticed it in the call yesterday too. So it's like, I legitimately own that space. Like if this was at Barnes and Noble facing like that, that'd be some pretty expensive real estate. So thank you.
Well, that's just because I owe who I am, not as just a producer, but as a human being to my years of coaching and mentorship from you, my friend. So that's an easy space for me to put up there on that shelf day in and day out.
You're very kind, and I appreciate that. So I look forward to the next book called Closing the Gaps with, right, that big headline, maybe right next to it or on the other side.
Yeah, I was looking over here, maybe over here, but we'll figure it out. It's a good space for sure.
We'll find some good real estate for it. So here's where that comes from. White Collar Warrior was based on my love and appreciation of the military, my awareness that highly effective people have certain things in common, and thanks for the adjustment. And that's where the book came from, right? But then I began to consider, okay, I don't know if I told you this, Todd, but when I did this Renee Rodriguez Amplify event a couple of weeks ago, which I highly recommend that everybody do, it hit me that I have been doing this for 16,000 hours. I think I've been saying 12 for a long time, and I actually did the math on it the other day, and it's 16,000 hours. And Bill Hillestead says, oh, dude, 16X. You got to roll with 16X like that. And so I have my graphic artist throw it together. I'll see if we do that or not. Renee says, yeah, don't even tell people what it is. Just start putting it in your stuff and let them ask about it. But 16,000 hours of coaching, right? That's not that I don't say that in a braggadocious way. It's more just like experiential, that I've been in this chair for 17 years, 16,000 hours of coaching, and holy cow, if I haven't figured out what Todd Bookspan and some of my best clients over the years have done to close the gaps between what they said they wanted to do and what they actually did, if I haven't figured that out, I'm not paying attention. So that's where it came from. And that's why I was excited to talk about this today.
Well, it blows me away because I just got on my calculator. So I'm 0.00625 of that as a client of yours. And I'm like, wow, what impact you've had on me. So I think when you think about the impact that you've had on the world, on the individuals who have gone out there and had impact based on 16,000 hours, man, what a blessing.
It is a blessing, and that is my greatest joy. And look, you guys, the Mortgage Coach community members, we do really well as coaches. So, I don't want to make that sound like anything different than what I'm about to describe. But when you coach somebody who's having a $30, $40, $50, $80,000 month, right? And I'm not, there are moments where it's like, if I were to get back into production, I could do some different things, right? I could have several homes and I could live differently. And then I'm reminded of what Daniel told you and I both years ago, and that is about the why file. And I've talked about this before here to the Mortgage Coach community, but it's why we do what we do. And so he said, the founder of Building Champions, Daniel Harkavy, said, have a file which has letters and emails and note cards from people that say what you just said, Todd. And thank you so much always for your kind comments. But I have an opportunity to pour into people's lives and come alongside them. And like Bob Goff said to me in my recent interview with him the other day, shameless plug, he said it's like being a porter, right? That you're able to come alongside somebody and say, like a Sherpa climbing, Kilimanjaro, to say, well, tell me what you want to do. And I'll tell you what you don't need for that trip. Like, you can get rid of that guilt. You can get rid of that history. You can get rid of that thing that's no longer serving you. And so anyway, I think that's my job. And it's just a pleasure to be able to help people close gaps. So anyway, that's where the whole concept came from. And I think I've gotten pretty good at figuring out what works for people.
Well, and I so know that. So let's talk about maybe some of those gaps that you're seeing, and let's see if we can't get this crew who's watching this live or on video to move a little bit closer to execution as we head into the end of the year.
So, as an example, I just before this call was on a webinar with Bristol Myers Squibb Oncology. I don't know if I told you that we were at the Boulders. Remember we were there a couple of years ago in Arizona?
You were in my town with, I was hanging out. That was all right.
You know how it is, though. You fly in, you do the talk, you fly out, right? So there's no time for the pleasure side as much as I would have liked. But it's such an honor to be with a group outside of the mortgage space, right? And be able to talk to them specifically about life planning. Like, that's what they hired us to come in and do. And so today, I was doing a cleanup call with about 6 of their people around the country that weren't able to be there for that. And so we were talking about life planning. And these are people that are leaders, Todd. These are people that have pharmaceutical reps that work for them in the oncology world. And they want to know about life planning. And they've got Daniel's book, Living Forward, and they understand what it is. And so the thing that I was talking to them about today is, okay, here's how you create it, right? So whether you're a loan originator right now or a producing branch manager, and maybe you're creating a business plan right now for Q1 2020, we all know how to create a plan. There's no huge mysteries in the idea of creating a plan. The real mysteries are, how do I stay connected to it so that it actually changes my behavior and gets me different results? That's the beauty of what you landed on with Win by Noon. You landed on something very specific, very tactical, that grew from, and I say this, another shameless plug, be sure and listen to the recent episode I just did with Todd Bookspan on ALLIN with Coach Bill Hart, because you tell that story. I love your story of the notebook that you were using, the notebook that you created, which was kind of like an art project is how I picture it. And then it finally became this thing today that anybody can buy, which is the Win by Noon planner. But it was a little rough in its early stages, right?
It was. I was just looking to see, it's in a drawer back here, but I've got my lunchbox and backpack in front of it.
Nice.
My Building Champions notebook with the shrunk down stuff. And then, now it's really fancy. Look at, see, shameless plug. Look, here's the Mortgage Coach edition for Q1 2020 that just started shipping.
So, I'm just going to speak to people right now. I'm talking to you. If you're watching this right now, whether it's live or recorded, I'm talking to you. If you don't own that, you're tossing the dice on the quality of your days. Todd has created something that makes an absolute difference in the way that you line up your priorities, your non-negotiable daily disciplines. And so, Todd, I'm just going to call it out, because it is the greatest tool that I know of from a coaching perspective. I get nothing for this. I'm not paid for this. I'm not a distributor. I don't have an agreement. I'm just telling you, this thing that Todd has created in his team will change the way that you get things done. And so that's the very first thing that I would call out. So this group with Bristol Myers Squibb, Todd, I'm talking to them about the best practices of, okay, here's what we see. We see that the most highly effective people, and remember, I'm talking to them about life planning, but it applies to everything. They take that window that you very clearly described as 8:30 to 11:30, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to get it done by noon, that window between 8:30 and 11:30 allows you time to move the needle on the things that matter to you. And so that's the first thing that I would call out is look at your morning routine. I mean, step number 1, create a plan. Like, if you're going to write this down, create a plan, whatever that is. It can be in any form, but I'm a fan of the one-page business plan. It's such an easy thing to do. I'll give you an example of why this is so important. So let's just park on this one for a quick second. I'm talking to a client the other day, and if she's listening, she's going to know I'm calling her out. But she says, okay, so coach, I made a list here, and these are the things that I want to do next year. And I'm like, good list. Where is that list? Well, it's on a yellow pad. Okay, so what happens when you flip the page and you start writing tomorrow on the next page? I can't see it. Exactly. So, right, you've got to create a plan that is in some fashion visible for you, because out of sight, out of mind is real. And if everything is buried in a black screen, I can't constantly bring it up. So highly recommend you roll with a one-page business plan right now, or some version that allows you to quickly just look at it and, as Darren Hardy calls it, calibrate your day. I used to give Josh Metal credit for that, and Josh said, no, that's a Darren Hardy thing, so you would know that. Calibrate your day. I've never heard it put better. So start there. Get your plan created. Is there anything that you want to add to that before I move on?
Well, you know what I did this year that was slightly different is I printed mine on cardstock too. So it's even,
Nice.
so it's even more like, I mean, really think about it and then figure out where you're going to stash it. So for me, obviously I slide it in the back of the pocket and win by noon. But I think that's how, for me, when I had it on a piece of paper, sometimes it would get lost or tattered. And so I just made it a little bit thicker and a little more tangible, or tactile. That's the right word.
That. Tactile. I love that. Yeah. And it sort of creates its perceived or it increases its perceived importance. You can laminate it. You can slip it into a plastic sheath, but I agree with you, man. And I've had people frame them, like they literally frame them, put it on the wall. So it's like right there. And I'm not so sure it's a horrible idea. So whatever it is you do, create your plan. If you're going to close the gaps between intention and execution, it's got to start with the actual plan. The second thing is I'm going to strongly encourage you to review it daily. And again, this is Darren Hardy's Calibrate Your Day thing. Josh Metal, as you know, is an absolute animal at this, and it's what he does every single day. So here's the beauty of that, you guys. Think about this. It sounds so ridiculous that, seriously, I'm going to review my business plan every day. Yes, and here's why. It's now not only in your head, it's in your heart. And it becomes a decision filter for you. So if you guys are making notes, write down the term decision filter. Todd Booksman, you've lived this. I've watched you do it, that when you put together a plan that says, this is my lane, right? This is where I'm going. Those little bumps on the side that go thump, 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 thump when I veer out, you're reminded of those, and your decision filter says, no, that's not where I'm going. Is that something that I could do? Yes, but I'm going to choose not to. And so here's what I would ask you guys to do. Stop going to big events. Like, stop it. Unless you're going for the social reasons, and I get that. And is there somebody that could sharpen you? Absolutely. But here's the reason I say it like that, Todd, and I know it's totally controversial. I don't think you need any new ideas. I've said it. I don't think you do. I think what Dave has done with this community, with now, 8,100 members?
Not bad, huh? We love all of you.
Right? Oh my goodness. You guys have built a virtual community that, in a time when we value our time so much more than we have in the past, and there's so many places where we can get pulled off in the weeds, you have a very quick way to get information. I don't know if you saw it, Todd, but I posted the day before yesterday a question about TBDs.
Yeah.
And right. And the question was, and it continues to live there, and I'm getting great responses on it. Like, what are you guys doing to incubate your TBDs? I really want to know. And for a lot of people, like Jeremy Forcier said, I don't do that great. And I said, thanks for your honesty. But then he chimed in later that he actually does have a plan for it. But go ahead, talk to me. What have you got there on that topic?
Well, it's funny. I was just pulling out, for me, I always tell people it doesn't matter what day of the week you do it. But when I teach the ideal week for Win by Noon, I teach that that's a Wednesday thing, right? Calling your TBDs. And everyone's, I think most people get stuck and the reason I always teach ideal week, and it was part of the webinar I did on Tuesday, and I don't want to get too far off in the weeds on it, is that once you plant that flag and you say, this is my day, I do it, then you become more consistent when you do it.
Totally.
And then I'll post it in here so you guys have a link to it. You see all the scripts around it. But I think it's just also the frequency, right? Calling the people who are buying within 30 days every week. People who are buying up to 60 days every other week. And then beyond that, every 3 to 4 weeks. Because I'm always amazed by how many LOs say, well, yeah, I got this guy and he's going to buy in August of 2020 and I'll call him in July. I'm like, no, if you call him in July, he's already talked to 5
Absolutely.
other people, already gone. And so having a plan for it is critical, and it should be a plan that gets actually written in your calendar so that you actually do it.
That's right. Yeah. So go look that up, you guys. But here's my point. And I hope you all know this. You can search in the Mortgage Coach Mastermind productivity community, or whatever it's called. There's a lot of words in there and I always get lost, but all I have to do is type mortgage coach and it pops up. You can search in there. So search for TBD. Thank you. Search for whatever, financial planners. Search for realtor marketing. You can search for anything, and Todd's going to show us right now. There it is. I mean, there's my question. And so look what I've got. I've got 33 comments there.
Himself useful.
Say it again, buddy.
That's Dave behind the scenes.
Right on. Nice, Dave. So, and there's a ton of great comments in there. Like, for example, I didn't know that you could use HomeBot for TBD follow-up. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was a buyer's component. So, I learn as a result of going to that community. And what I'm saying is what you guys have done with this community is so timely, because for those of us, which is all of us, who are in a hurry and value our time, anything that can save us time and increase efficiency is something that is going to help you to close the gaps. So that's why I kind of like boldly and controversially said, stop going to big events. I'm only half kidding, like go to the events, but don't rely on that as the thing to give you the new idea that's going to make the difference in your business. Go to the event for the social thing. Go to the event for the possibility of getting some new ideas and getting fired up. But I'm telling you guys, as a coach, you don't need any new ideas. You don't. They're all out there. Like, just buckle down on the few things that close the gaps and make things happen. So create a plan. Number 2, review it daily. Review it daily. This is calibrating your day. Number 3, knock out your non-negotiable daily disciplines by noon. Todd Buxman talks about this masterfully. I don't think you need anything more than to know that. You guys know what to do. You know the calls that need to be made. The non-negotiable daily discipline should include your TBD follow-up. If there's anything, Todd, I am so clear on right now, it's last year, which we didn't see coming. Nobody saw. We're still in last year, I guess, technically, right? Still 2019. Nobody saw this little refi boom coming. And so what always happens, you guys, and I'm talking to you right now, you know it, is you got pulled off into the weeds with refis. And there's nothing inherently bad or evil about this. I did a video on this years ago called Don't Eat the Donuts. And I was standing out in the field with a box of those chocolate waxy donuts. Like, the donuts taste good, they fill me up, but they're not nutritious. That's what refis are, right? It's like, look, do we help people with refis? Yes. We're helping them to save money. Do we get paid? Yes. Everybody wins, but there's a cost. And the cost is, I haven't been planting seeds in this field over here, which is my purchase market, either my realtors or my database, right? So we know that that has to happen. And I'm going to suggest to you that as you look at your non-negotiable daily disciplines for 2020, particularly Q1, challenge yourself. Am I touching my database enough? Todd, were you in the room with Keith when Keith Collins called out that thing at TMC last week from Carl White?
I may have been.
So he said 1 per 100.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
100, yeah.
Okay.
And that's an interesting, love that statistic, and it seems doable, right?
So so here's what I did. I don't know Carl other than through Facebook, but I reached out to him on Facebook privately and said, hey, Keith called this out, and Dave, I want you to chime in if you want to on this, but Keith said, hey, I just heard Carl White say the other day that we should be getting, if we're adequately touching our database, 1 funding per 100 people in our database. And when Keith Collins called this out last week in Laguna, you could see everybody go, wow. And Linda Davidson, who was in the room, who did 200 and what will she do this year?
Something crazy, like 800 loans. It was a big number.
It's insanity. And she nodded in that sweet little way of hers. She said, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, right? So I reach out to Carl White. That maybe is more Bill Clinton than it was Linda Davidson. So I feel badly for that. Sorry, Linda. But Carl said that's the low side. We see 1 to 2.79 closings, fundings per month per 100 in the database if people are sending weekly email, monthly snail mail, and making quarterly phone calls. So I'm just going to leave that there because Dave, I know you want to chime in, but man, if I'm in the mortgage business, I should be committed to my database moving into Q1. Dave, what comments do you have on that?
Well, I had something I wanted to bring from earlier, but I'll close with that. But
Yep.
I mean, that's the real low side, you know?
Yep.
And I remember there was a post about a month or two ago, and I just love this quote from Jeremy Forcier, where he's like, "You're not in the client for life business if you're not doing refis." I mean, it's really simple. Like you can say, "I'm all about clients for life," but if you're not supporting your past customers, and then the other thing I would say is, in a refi market, it's high. It's really high, and that's actually really low. Like, I interview the best of the best, and kind of the peak of success is 10 out of every 100 in your database, 10% pull through rate, and here's the fact of the matter. You could go talk to your head of secondary. So anyone listening to this, if you don't believe me, ask your head of secondary. They call it their constant prepayment rate. So it's a secondary term. Yep. And there's a constant prepayment rate. And what that means is we've got this portfolio. How many of those are paying off? That means they either inherited money and they're paying it off, they're refinancing and they're paying it off, they're selling their home and paying it off. Constant prepayment rate, it's like 15% on the low side. So that means 15 out of every 100 clients are paying off their loan, or they're going somewhere. Now, you're not going to get all 15. You know, that's not, I've never heard of anyone that's doing that. And in a high refi market, it could be like 20%. It could be like, it's been in the 30s, depending on the product side. So guys, I just wanted to advocate for that. One more coaching note is I did put a link to the ALLIN interview between Bill Hart and Todd Bookspan. It's 30 minutes, guys. If you're watching the recording, it's down below. You know, put that on your weekend homework assignment. You know, ALLIN by Bill Hart is just you know, if you believe in that concept, I want to be all in, then make sure you listen to the podcast. Make that part of your habits of a way of going all in. And then one more note on Win by Noon. I loved how you were saying, hey, have the one-page plan, review it daily. You know, to me, what I love about, you know, Win by Noon is it's like a lifestyle brand. Like, if you want your lifestyle to be super successful and you achieve your goals, Win by Noon, be all in. So if you don't have a Win by Noon planner, and I don't think you can only get a Win by Noon sticker if you see Todd, but make your own sticker, write it down, live and breathe that Win by Noon mentality, and you'll be more successful. So back to you guys.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you're right. It will change your life. It will change your life. I just had that very same conversation, by the way, Todd. You have an opportunity with Bristol Myers Squibb. I told them there was an executive edition. They said the exact same thing. These are people that are working with oncologists and they're in the medical world. And they said the exact same thing. Like, I get pulled in so many directions and I went through your whole thing. So it's, yeah, you guys, you've got to have the planner, because it's the way that I am aware of for the majority of people to simplify the process of staying on track with their non-negotiable daily discipline. So it's what I would ask you to do. So look, I know I went off on a tangent thing with the database, but my point to you is, if I coached you, I would say to you, I would ask you, how many people are in your database? I had a guy yesterday tell me he has 2,500 people in his database, 2,500, and he's closing 10 loans a month. And 70% of those are coming from realtors. So I know somebody is watching right now and they're saying, I have similar percentages. And I'm telling you, you've got acres of diamonds. You are sitting on acres of diamonds and you're missing the opportunity. And as much as I love the idea of you guys working with realtors, I'm going to tell you this honestly. You talk to the Kenny Klauses of the world, the guys that are doing hundreds of transactions a year in real estate, and they'll tell you that there is less and less opportunity for discretionary referrals to be made by realtors to you. So the more you get in front of the transaction, the more that you're mining your own database, the more certainty you're going to have moving forward. I don't know what it's going to look like a few years from now, but I know that my State Farm agent has a book of business. You need a book of business. Work it.
Well, let me throw something in there too, because ironically, I just saw Kenny on Sunday and his wife.
Nice.
They're Steelers fans, and it was the Cardinals game, and it was like being at a Steelers home game. I never knew what it would be like being in Pittsburgh. I mean, it was beautiful, sunny in Phoenix with a dome. But, it's interesting to hear because what I'm seeing in Phoenix, where we've got this hot iBuyer market bed that Kenny's going around the country and teaching on is that, there's this philosophy that they have right now that they want to make home buying and selling free, and they want to make all their money on title and mortgage. So think about that. They want actually to steal your client. They want to steal your realtor's clients. And that's why when Bill's talking about this, I mean, you're so spot on, Bill, that you've got to be so database focused because those folks have trusted you in the past. And you should be teaching this to your real estate agents as well, because they're if it's not in their market, it's going to come to their market. It may not be Zillow. It actually probably will be Zillow. Maybe not be some of these other companies that have hedge fund money behind them, but they're going to be there and they're going to affect you and your partners. And I know that the average commission that most agents is making is coming down. And so they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And you can be the person who comes alongside them. And I think what Bill talked about is you just said it, acres of diamonds, gold. That is a gap that everyone has.
Huge gap.
You got to go from intention to execution on that one, Bill.
It's a huge gap. And if you're making notes, I would write down own my business. I would draw a circle around it, grab a yellow highlighter, fill the circle in yellow, put a star next to it, and then put some arrows pointing at it. Own my business. What I know is I coach somebody right now, Todd, and this guy does really well, probably 20 units a month, but he says, I'm exhausted. Why is he exhausted? Because he spends all his time pouring into realtors. He's doing lunch and learns. And dear Lord in heaven, can I please just ask people, can we please come up with another term than lunch and learns? Really? Really? Like, I want to just challenge this community. Come on, you guys. Let's come up with a better term. You've probably got one, but let's make it like ubiquitous. Let's make it everywhere. And can we please stop saying lunch and learns? I pictured two kids walking to kindergarten, holding hands, skipping. Like, it just sounds so fundamental. Stop it.
So community, real quick, guys, if you have a better term than lunch and learn, let's put that in comments down below. Let's come up with some ideas, some strategies, comments down below, whether you're live on this call, I'll call them out in a minute. And if you're listening to the recording, I'll bring them up in the next call. Real quick, before we go off this topic, I've been doing a lot of speaking around this concept of going from white belt as an advisor to black belt as a mortgage advisor. Yeah, and there's some key concepts that would drive you to say, you know what, I need to go from a white belt loan officer to a black belt. And one of those key concepts is be captain of the wealth team. And here's the deal. I got interviewed yesterday by someone and they were asking me like, what's the big deal? What has you excited about 2020? And guys, I'm gonna just do a 1 to 2 minute rant here. You know why I'm excited? I'm excited because no longer is the mortgage industry in last place with the utilization of technology. When it comes to, like, when financial planners see what we have in the mortgage business, mortgage coach, digital mortgage app, they're jealous. When life insurance see it, they're jealous. Heck, when realtors see it, they don't have better tech than we do in the mortgage industry, guys. So here's the deal. You're in the mortgage business. You have the best tech stack of anybody on the wealth team. You get both the asset information, you get the liability information. No other local referral-based advisor has the same information on a family as you do. No one has a better tech stack than you do. And by the way, mortgage people, while we don't think we're very good at using a CRM, and by the way, we're not, we need to get a lot better, compared to the rest of the other players on the wealth team, we're pretty good. We're good lead aggregators. So guys, what Bill is talking into you here is something that couldn't just change your life in your year, but it could literally change the next decade. And we're not like ending a year, we're ending a decade, 2020, be the captain of the wealth team. So sorry about the rant, but I thought it was on point.
It's totally on point, and I love your captain of the wealth team thing, Dave. As a matter of fact, would you please send me that stack? I'd love to have that, because in the same way that you're sharing some of my stuff with your people, I want to do the same thing and give you credit for it, of course. But you're right on point with this, Dave. And you
don't need to give me credit, man. Put your stuff on it and take it and run.
You're very kind, but why would I not? It's your stuff. Just like I would with Daniel Pink or Todd Duncan or John Maxwell. I mean, it's your IP. I want to share that. But thank you for that. I want to be able to share it because it's right on the money. And you're a huge part of the reason that we're getting the progress that we are on the tech side, Dave. So thank you. Continue to push and continue to innovate. I don't have enough great things to say about what you're doing, and you need to hear from me. I have got more clients now. Do you remember the Josh Metal conversion?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Josh,
so you guys,
price to advice with Josh Metal.
Right. 5 years ago, whenever it was, he was like, dude, I don't have time to learn that. Like I'm busy moving and grooving. And when he finally committed to it, he's like the angels were singing, it's like, why didn't you tell me about this? What? I've been telling you about this for a year. Right? 100%. So I know there's somebody watching right now that's like, yeah, I know, dude and dudettes, commit to this, become good at this. Dave, what do you say these days? Because I don't know. I don't want to misquote you. I know you used to say do 20 TCAs, get them knocked out to your friendlies, and now you've got the muscle. What do you say these days? What would you tell somebody right now who's like,
well, I mean,
get good at this?
I think 20 is still a safe number. I've never had someone do 20 like in a month, not 20 in 20 months.
Right.
But create 20 TCAs and stop. When the Josh Metal story, Josh got to 7, and I remember him calling me saying like, Dave, this thing's taking too long. Yes, it's a great sales advantage, but it's just taking too much time.
Yep.
And in the Josh Metal story, he also texted me back at 12 and was like, holy shit. Okay.
Right.
I've got it down to 10 minutes, and I just won a new referral partner, and he, gave me the quote of what a consumer said, and he's like, I'm in. And, today it takes him 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So 20 is safe. Maybe, there are some millennials that have great keyboard skills and love tech, might be 7.
Yep.
Some people that click and you hate tech and you don't learn it quick, might take you every bit of 20.
Yep.
But it will change your career.
It will change.
And it will improve the consumer experience in a way that here's the deal, guys. You're gonna use Mortgage Coach. It's a question of, are you gonna do it and make it a competitive advantage? Or are you gonna catch up with the market a couple of years from now? Because, what we do is the standard.
So last week, one of the things that we heard at the final Masters Coach, by the way, like we ended that program after 23 years last week in Laguna. We're launching a new solution for 2020 called the Champion Series. So pay attention, just stay tuned for that. But Dave, one of the things that came up was this whole conversation about using Mortgage Coach, and it might've been Lori Richardson, I think it was, that said, you guys need to know that Quicken is quoting 2.5 points. You just need to know that. And so if you're not having a conversation that factors that in, or 2, right? So if you show them 2 point, 1 point par, if you're not at least doing that, you don't have an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation with a consumer who knows nothing except they should be asking you about your rate. That's all they know. And they're being lowballed and misled. You need to find a way to be able to lay that out on the table. And I don't know a better way to do it. A better way doesn't exist than Mortgage Coach. So use the tool.
So cliff note to that. Not only does Quicken do that, I mean, most online lenders will show low rate, 2 points. Lots of big banks, loan officers will do that too. So the takeaway for everybody, and this is Jeremy Forcier, every, pre-approval purchase, he shows rate options. Hey, here's today's rate, here's a lower rate, here's a higher rate, so that you're giving people rate options.
Totally.
That is a Mortgage Coach black belt pro tip, everybody. Thank you, Bill, for pulling that out.
Well, it's just a fact, you guys. And if you think about what the consumer is being communicated on, the only thing they're being communicated on is rate, right? There's a big company out there and that word is in their name, I'm just saying. So like, that's what's being communicated to them. And the reality is, think about it. What do borrowers want? No cost. I think there's a gap. All we communicate about is rate, and the only thing they care about is rate and no cost. It seems to me like there's an opportunity here, and I think Donald Miller would tell us a story. Okay, I want to get back to my points here. So my points are, number 1, create a plan. Number 2, review it daily. Number 3, knock out your non-negotiable daily disciplines by noon. Number 4 is accountability. So I don't care where you get it, but you must get it. And I know this because if I don't get a workout in by 2 p.m., so my window for workouts is 12 to 2. I take a 2-hour lunch. That's when I get a workout in. I know that if I don't get that done by 2 o'clock, I will not work out because I won't do it at 4, 5, 6, or 7. It's not going to happen. For most of you, it's the morning. And what I know is when you start that habit, if you don't have, Todd, I know you're a runner, and I know that you have mentioned many times how important it is to have a buddy, right? That there's somebody that holds you accountable. So at the end of the day, that's, yes. Can I repeat the daily list? I'm not sure I understand. Hang on. Do you mean just the list that I went through? Is that what you mean, Cynthia? Yeah. So the list is, number 1, create a plan. And we'll recap this for you. And can we do that, Dave, in the comments down below? I'll send it to you.
So here's what I would ask. So first of all, we got like hundreds of people between the number of people watching this on Facebook, lots of people. Guys, someone's taking some good notes here. And the question is, could you recap the bullet points? Please put those below. And
Awesome.
then Todd Bookspan, if you could, I'll give you the last words to kind of recap the action plan. Even though Bill Hart is the coach on today's call, why don't you do a coaching recap at the end of the call, Todd?
Nice. So with that in mind, thank you, Dave. Great leadership. Accountability is the name of the game, you guys. I know that if somebody isn't holding me to it, I'm going to blow it off and rationalize it in my mind. So I want you to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable. Obviously, I think a coach is the way to do that. You guys, many of you work for companies that have coaching available to you that is discounted. If nothing else, do that. That's a great solution. Many of your companies have coaching available. Get a coach. If not, go to Building Champions, the Core, the Duncan Group. There's no shortage of places to find a great coach, you guys. But the thing that made the difference for me when I wrote my book was group accountability. Group accountability. When I stood in front of that room, and I think, Todd, you were in the room, and said, don't let me back in this room unless I have a transcript, a manuscript. I remember Josh looking at my wife, Tony, and saying, does he realize what he just did? But it's the thing that made it happen for me. So for many of you, group accountability will be the thing that will move you from I intend to do this to I'm going to do this. Use this forum. Put something out right now. Let me challenge you guys. There are 8,100 members here. If there's something you want to do next year, put it out boldly to this group and say, here's what I'm going to do. Let's go. Make something happen by engaging group accountability.
Well, I just threw it up on the screen. I'm actually hosting a 4-week accountability challenge every month next year. And so if you go to winbynoon.com/calendar, you can register a week from today. I'm launching it for January. So it's for your realtors, so you can work with your partners and invite them to be part of it. It's for you because you need it. And I'm doing it 4 weeks at a time, transparently, because I'm currently doing a quarterly challenge. And guess what's happening towards the end of the quarter? People are falling out. So I'm going to help you guys. I was going to say force you guys. I'm going to help you guys stay accountable each month next year. And we're absolutely going to dig in on all the things that Bill is talking about. And last thing I'll throw in there, because it's a commercial, shameless plug, but here was the discount code for Win by Noon Mortgage Coach Edition that I gave out on Tuesday's call. So I'll make sure we post it in the group somewhere. But for those of you who are like, hey, I should get that, at least you can get something on it.
I also love the code. I love the code. That's great.
Made it easy. Like, what do you remember? Because people are like, I don't remember the code. So we made a TCA, you get a free month. So it's kind of cool. But go to the calendar and register, like Dave said, you do for the YouTube stuff. If you just subscribe to the calendar, let you know all of the upcoming stuff that we've got going on. I'm trying to do 3 or 4 free webinars a week teaching you guys something that we talk about in this community, and that's going to be your place to figure it all out.
Oh, so Todd, I did not know that, and thank you for calling it out. That's your perfect solution, you guys. That's your perfect solution. It completely marries you into this group. There's already comfort in this community. That's a brilliant way to do it. You'll be connected to Todd and Win by Noon. Do that. That's the way. Todd, you know, we've done this for years with the Masters Coach, and when we do a challenge, there's always movement. There's always movement. Things happen because I'm putting it out there publicly. I've got people that are holding me to it, and it's just going to make things happen. So the last thing that I'm going to ask you to do, if you want to close the gaps between intention and execution, you've got to block out distractions. You have got to block out distractions, you guys. And so what that means is anything on your mobile device that gives you one of those little red numbers, you got to make it go away. So I've had people, and Todd, you know this, that they've turned off all their notifications. That's a pretty extreme way to do it, but it's one way to do it. You can turn off your phone. I've seen people do this. So this is your phone face up on your desk. This is your phone face down. It could be that simple, but do whatever you have to do. My phone has an DND, hit DND on your phone. Turn off your notifications. For Bill Hart, I put on the QC35s, right? And I put on some kind of music. For me, it's either soft jazz or classical. Takes me to a place where I get into a zone. I create talks, PowerPoints. Have I mentioned that I do presentations at sales rallies, by the way? Because if you work for a company that needs a speaker, I know a guy. But that's where I create those programs, right? I eliminate distractions. That's the way that I'll get this second book written. This is the way that you make progress, you guys, but you have got to say no to the good so that you can say yes to the great. And the only way I know to do that is to block out your distractions.
So I want to just add 2 things to that. So one, guys, Bill Hart is a spectacular keynote for 2020. And I know, because I have seen him deliver, you know, exactly what today's loan officer needs from stage and really set the table. And I would recommend, just because Bill and I have done it before, do Bill Hart keynote and then follow that up with the top producer panel. And by the way, if you're a mortgage coach client, you're a big client, I would come.
Bring Dave in.
I would come and facilitate. I love being the sideshow to Bill Hart. But I'm telling you guys, it really is exactly what you need. But when I turned on the screen, I didn't do it to give you a plug, because I don't know that you need one. Everyone knows you're a badass. But guys, I personally think what he just talked about in terms of distractions and focus work, it's like the #1 gap that probably most of us have, myself included. Like, as I'm planning for 2020 and how do I go to another level personally, it's more jam sessions. It's less, it's making sure that I'm doing the vital few. It's making sure that I'm prospecting more. And that's just me personally sharing with you guys, being vulnerable. But I'll bet you, like, I'm mentoring my daughter right now. She's entering the job business, and she's almost 21, and I'm like, helping her. And like, the #1 thing she needs to do is like turn off notifications.
Totally.
Don't, like, you pick your habits, and your habits pick your life.
Yeah.
And are you going to pick habits where you're distracted by other people's priorities, other people's conversations? I just think that's huge. So one last thing, guys, what are Bill just shared like 3 things: turn off notifications, wear a headset. What are the top 3 things you're doing to focus, to avoid the distractions? Put those down below.
It's great.
Back to you, Bill, and back to you, Todd. And I'm going to put it on mute. I'll say something as we close out the call, but you guys, it's all the 2 of you for the last 10 minutes.
So Todd, I'm going to let you close it out. I'm just going to say, to recap, closing the gaps, moving from intention to execution, create a plan, review it daily, nail your non-negotiable daily disciplines by noon, have some accountability, and then block out distractions. In a nutshell, that's what I know about making things happen, or as Steve Sims says, getting stuff done.
It's always good to quote Steve Sims. It was
Why
interesting.
would you not?
I had coffee with a realtor the other night who runs a $150 million real estate team. And he told me that he and his business partner now have a deal where they're going off 1 day a week with no phone. And he said he started off on weekends because it was easier,
Wow.
right? But he's a realtor, so he's getting stuff. So he's turning off his phone, and he said he actually did it on a Monday, and he said it was so hard. But think about that commitment, and they're spending that time thinking. They're actually working through ideas together and trying to figure out how to grow, like this idea of on time that we talk about all the time, Bill, where people work on their business. And so think about what Bill is saying, because I think that's in the end what it comes down to, right? Is how can you eliminate those distractions? And, we've been talking about Josh Medal a lot today, but Josh, for him and his team, for their prospecting time from 9 to 11, their cell phones and their desk phones are forwarded to the receptionist, right? So they're actually protecting themselves from themselves and saying, oh, look, oh my gosh, that's such an important call that's coming in and picking it up. It's actually going to the receptionist, and she has to be the one who filters it for him, whether it's a call that comes back through. So you have to set up, these boundaries, right? You have to have those bowling lane things that my kids and I use, because even though we're all like older now, we still have those things that pop up so we can't get gutter balls.
It's so good, man. So good. That's it. So that's it, you guys. And look, if I can ever be of value to you, Bill at buildingchampions.com, or it's not really difficult to find me on social. But Todd, Dave, this has been a blast. I hope it's helped people, but I just love hanging out with you guys, even if it was just the three of us and nobody else was here.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like, we could make it that way and just not invite everyone next time. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. I think, again, Bill, I think it comes back to this whole idea of, you said the best thing people can have is a one-on-one coach. So let me not say that, when I put out the accountability challenge, I feel like everybody needs it. It's going to supplement what you're doing with a coach if you have one. But my goal is I know a lot of you haven't hit that level yet where you can afford to hire Bill to be your coach. And so I want what I'm doing with Win by Noon to be just kind of an entryway, a way for you to actually plug into a community, grow what you're doing with some accountability, and then get you to the point where you can afford to have Bill as your coach, if he's got time.
Appreciate it, buddy.
You can help with that. I would say if you have time. I mean, you're pretty booked up, but you'll make room.
Right now I don't have any room, but I'm always open to talking to people. If it's a special case or a unique situation, I'm always open to that. But we have a ton of great coaches at Building Champions. And Dave, what would you have in closing here? I know we're coming up on the end of our time, but it's really been an honor. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Hey, Bill, I know how busy you are. I know how in demand you are. So thank you for making an hour to spend with Mortgage Coach. And, guys, Building Champions, you go to buildingchampions.com, and they have a pretty comprehensive process to find out what it would be like to get coached by them. They also have a lot of great free tools to help you with your year-end planning. One of my all-time favorite year-end interviews was with, Daniel Harkavy. And I do believe that interview we did has been watched over 1,000 times. Wow. I'm going to put a link down below, guys. So, in closing thoughts, if you are like, hey, should I get a coach or not? Definitely interview with Building Champions. Just the interview process will be valuable to you. Now, I don't want you, if you don't have the investment resource, I don't want you to waste Building Champions time, but I really, interview with those guys. If you're on the fence, should I get a coach? Should I not get a coach? buildingchampions.com. Check it out. Todd, I love that idea of, Win by Noon providing, light accountability. And I definitely think if anybody's on this call and you're not part of the Win by Noon community, if you don't take Todd up on that, you're crazy. But I don't care how you get accountability. It's probably not your spouse or significant other. That's not the kind of accountability that improves prospecting time for most people. It wouldn't work for me. But get accountability. Have an accountability partner. And if you believe that I want to be captain of well team, I want to be a black belt at mortgage advice. Anybody that's done over 100 total cost analysis is a brown belt. And when I teach how to become a brown belt, or how to become a black belt, I tell every brown belt, part of the way you do that is to be a leader. When you know something so well, you can teach it and you can lead other people. That's how you become a master. Yeah. So for everyone who's done 100 TCAs, find someone that you can mentor into mortgage coach, into black belt. And for everyone that doesn't have one, guys, find someone. There's a lot of loan officers that have done over 100 TCAs. There's a lot of loan officers who have done over 1,000. And if you want to adopt mortgage coach, just post in our group, I'm looking for an accountability partner. And I'm sure someone will jump in and do that. Again, for mortgage coach. So those are my last thoughts. Guys, we got 4 minutes. Todd Bookspan, why don't you wrap this up? Help everybody take action on everything that they've heard today.
Well, I think, Bill, you just laid out such a great roadmap. And I think the thing that Bill said, and it's funny, that resonates with me a lot, is we already know what we need to do, right? He says you have all the ideas you need. And I think that that's really, one of the keys. We go to a great event and we're hearing something we heard a year, 2 years, a decade ago that we never executed then. And so you have to take the plan of attack that Bill just rolled out and figure out what is going to make it different this time. I always feel like it's this level of frustration that we hit. For me, most of the time that I've made big breakthroughs, it's come from this level of frustration. So look at yourself. I mean, how frustrated are you that, you're not getting your 1 out of 100 in your database to close with you, or the 10 that Dave says is an opportunity. And really think through, how can you take the plan that Bill just rolled out, right? So create a plan, review it daily, nail your non-negotiables by noon, get accountability, and block out distractions. How can you leave this call and make that important to you? How can you leave this call and actually do it maybe for the next hour today, right? Maybe it's blocking time on your calendar for next Monday. We talked about, again, I'm talking about Josh a lot. I got an email from Josh the night before last that said, hey, Todd, can you block these dates in 2020 when I'm going to be in Phoenix so we can hang out, right? Like, that's how far ahead the best of the best are looking, right? I mean, when you look at my calendar, it's already got stuff on there. In fact, I laugh because it says no right there on the top. It's a reminder to myself when I pull my calendar out of my book to look at it and think about, should I be saying no to this? So that's part of the filter you've got to figure out for yourself. And so, for me, I think that Bill just nailed it. Bill, how would you put like the last icing on top of this cake and send everyone home?
Just do it.
Just do it. There we go.
Just do it. Hey, I got one more thing. I thought, because Todd, or not Todd, but Bill, this is like these, how many things were they? Was it 7? How many?
How many is that, Todd? Is that 5?
Yeah, 4 or 5, depending on which way you
divide.
5.
Yep.
5. Bill, you need to make another little reminder. Bill Hart's 5 blank. And just a reminder, because this was just like pure gold, guys. Well, we took an hour, we caught up as bros for 10 minutes of that. Like, we bantered and had some fun. I hope it was fun for you. I know it was fun for me. But there was like, just some pure gold, just like those 7 things that top producers do. 5 things to close the gap, 5 things to go from intention to execution. So I don't know, Bill, I just created a little weekend project for you, but I'd love to see
it's
another
for my
image.
graphic artist, and I will have her create that graphic, but thank you for the call out.
So it's coming, guys, and just do it. When you get it, print it, share it, study it, do those 5 things that you heard today. And that's my why, to help you guys go to the next level, interview the best leaders in the mortgage industry. I'm remind you, if you got value from this, give us a like. If you loved it, love it, share it with your friends. And not the little California love. Hey, by the way, sidebar, have you ever watched Brene Brown's Netflix special called The Call to Courage?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Guys.
Can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I listened to it for probably the 3rd time with my daughter, I watched it with my daughter over the past couple of days. But when Brene does a little star or the little heart, you just reminded me of that. So Todd, any final words from you as we wrap up today's call?
Well, I just had a blast hanging out with 2 of my favorite people. So hopefully the rest of you had as much fun as the 3 of us had on here. And, I'll just quote Bill's last thing. I think it's his original thought. Just do it. I'm
pretty sure I made that up. Yeah.
Just take care, guys. Yeah.
Later.
I'm gonna go to Nike right now and get a t-shirt. See you guys later.
All right. Nice
Later,
to meet
guys.
you, Bill.
Bye-bye. Thanks,
All right,
buddy.
all right, my friends. We'll see y'all